Hey everybody, welcome back. Wayne here. This week we're going to talk about relapse and some ways or at least one tool on how to prevent it. There's this conversation that I have frequently with clients struggling with an addiction or even a bad habit that they want to let go of. And the conversation goes something like this. I'll ask, do you really believe that this behavior, whatever that behavior is not optional? And they'll say something like, of course, or absolutely. And then I'll say something like, I'm confused. I believe that behaviors are far better of an indicator of a person's belief system than the words that they say. And looking at your behavior, I'd have to say that your actions don't match what you say that you believe. Looking at your behaviors, it seems like you've got to believe that there are times when this behavior is acceptable or okay. What do your actions really say about your belief system? And then they'll answer back something like, well, it seems my behaviors say that I believe it's okay as long as I'm really miserable, or that I need an escape, or that I'm trying really hard, that I believe it's okay if I avoid getting caught doing whatever the behavior is. And it's okay if I've worked really hard to avoid the behavior, but I just can't withstand the pressure in that moment in time. And then I'll say something like, well, do you really want to stop? And then the conversation goes on from there around intention. But what I think is that it's not until we will truthfully answer that question that we begin to change. It's one thing to wish you wouldn't act a certain way. It's a totally different thing to draw a line in the sand and decide this behavior, whatever it is not optional. Life is difficult and has a way of creating some pretty tough situations for us. We know this now more than any other time, at least in my life. And at any given moment, something can trigger intense pain, harsh disappointments or emotions, and rogue desires. And then we're compelled to respond. In those moments, I know how to act, but there are plenty of times that I have failed to act in the way that I want to. There have been many things that I wanted to change, but did I really make the old behaviors not optional? Or was I just hoping that good intentions would make the change occur on their own? In light of all that, infidelity has a way of bringing out the worst in the best of us. To heal and ultimately move forward, we've got to accept what we've done and be intentional about how we want to live going forward. It's true for both the betrayed and the unfaithful spouses. If we don't want to take the time to consider and answer those questions when things are calm, there's a strong likelihood that we'll be like a chip of wood on a stormy water being tossed around by the emotional upheaval created by those life circumstances, especially with infidelity. In addition to telling couples and individuals to do a little recovery work every single day, 10, 15, 20 minutes every single day, I also tell them the best time to work on your marriage or your recovery is be proactive. If I had a nickel for every time I said that the last year, I'd be a rich man. But to do recovery work when things are good and positive puts the momentum in place and keeps it going and going and going in that direction. To snap into action when circumstances are out of control makes the entire process much harder. And if you've been on this journey for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to try and calm the chaos and then put into practice new principles of peaceful or calm behavior. And it's twice as hard to gain new ground in that moment. So the question is, how do you want to respond to these life difficulties as they come up? Do you want to be true to your committed way of life? Or do you want to act in ways that are counter to your true nature? These are decisions you need to make in a state of calm, not in a moment of passion or struggle. If you love your life, then it's pragmatically smart to avoid behaviors that will damage your relationship and your recovery. If you're hurting or if you're frustrated and life's not going the way you like it, it won't be long until the allure of acting out in a certain way will be counterproductive to your nature and may soon outweigh your desire to respond to yourself or to your spouse in love. The only problem is acting contrary to your nature not only hurts others, it also hurts you. Like I've said so many times, Rick says it, we all say it, infidelity creates a pain like no other. And each time that pain is triggered, you're faced with a two-choice dilemma. Do you let the pain drag you to behaviors that you really don't want? Or do you choose a path that brings life to yourself and to your spouse, to your family? So here's a tool for you to consider. Various recovery organizations have an interesting little exercise called 3 circles. Many of you have heard of it, I'm sure. If you've been to EMS Online or The Weekend, this is going to sound familiar in a way. It is a great tool to help you decide how you want to respond and how you don't want to respond. So I want you to imagine 3 concentric circles. The inner circle, these are the responses or the response patterns you know are counter to who you are and how you want to be. They are like bottom line behaviors that you want to make not optional. These might include acting out sexually, drinking excessively, shopping too much, spending money on credit cards that we shouldn't be doing, physical violence, verbal abuse. You get to determine what behaviors in your life you want to make not optional. And honestly, this exercise is good for betrayed spouses as well as unfaithful spouses. Next is we're going to go to the outer circle. And this outer circle, you're going to list here the behaviors that you believe are healthy and life-giving. This is the way you'd like to be remembered, and making conscious effort to maximize these behaviors can bring life to you and to your family and your close relationships. And last is that middle circle. And these are where the questionable ways of responding to pain of life are. And you're not sure if they're good or they're bad. And they may seem appropriate and justified in the pain of the moment, but you're not sure. And it may vary by situations. So you're going to list those in that middle circle. At A Fair Recovery, we say that my mate is not my problem. My mate just reveals the problems in me. And I know that triggers some people the first time they say it or hear it, but if you just stick with it, you start to see what we're really talking about. If you want to discover most of your own wounds, all you need to do is let your spouse trigger you. And all you'll experience then is the ways your past has yet to be conformed to love or healed. And in those moments, we're all tempted to act in ways that are contrary to love, both for ourselves and for one another. If you haven't predetermined how you want to respond in those difficult situations, you'll remain a victim of your circumstances and the emotions that ensue. And there's a good chance that your response may well take you places that you really don't want to go. Now, please hear me say that your feelings or your intuitions are not invalid. Feelings are real and meaningful part of our existence, even the really strong ones. And I tell clients all the time that feelings, whether they're rooted in truth or just a story, feelings are running the world right now and have been for some time. We've got to at least acknowledge them. These intense emotions also create a demand for action and a protective response then that may lead us astray and cause us to hurt ourselves and others. It's really important to be true to ourselves and to think through who we really are and how we want to be. I'd encourage you all to take a moment and fill out that 3 circles exercise. You'll find it can be a good tool to help you stay the course that you've set out for yourself. You may also want to consider some infidelity-specific help if you haven't already done EMS Online or Harboring Hope or Hope for Healing or Come to the Weekend. These recovery programs can help prevent relapse and help you find healing for you and your spouse. to work through the recovery together, I really would love it if you would consider joining an EMS online course for couples. All the information is on the Affair Recovery website under the Programs tab. There's a different workbook for each spouse, so you'll not only receive the help you need individually, you'll also gain a better understanding of what your mate is experiencing as well. So once again, I just want to thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for your time. Let us know what your experience is with this 3 circles exercise if you do it. And just like always, I'll see you next week. Thanks so much.